Also, be this correct or not, my thought, I fly, or was flying against the likes of Dave Livesey, Stu Weckerly, Jack Moses, a lot of the top people in the Flying Aces Club. Right? These guys would be out flying with me. We're in the middle of a mass launch. They got their first flight well over 2 minutes, slaughtering me all over the place. Second flight, well over 2 minutes. Third flight, into the ground. Right? I got to thinking maybe one of the things is nose block. The thrust adjustment seems to be one of the most important adjustments on a free flight rubber band powered plane. One of the most important adjustments. And every time we wind the plane up, we pull out the most important adjustment and play with it and try to shove it back in the way it used to be. If you don't believe me, go to any contest and look at the number of ways that all kinds of guys have come up with to get this nose block to anchor back in. Right? A lot of people put it in with the old balsa plug, shove it in there and hope that it fits like a piece of cork. It's sometimes works, sometimes don't. There's a lot of people who've been doing it for a lot of years and doing great with it, trying to offer an easier way. But you put in this plug and then you put shims behind the nose block to try to pull it out to adjust your flight. And if the shims aren't just right, or if the nose block don't even fit back in anymore with all those shims in the way, right? A better way to lock the nose block in was what I thought was needed. Maybe that's what they did. They didn't get the nose back in, dove into the ground. I tried to come up with all kinds of I had wire clips, rubber bands holding it, all kinds of mess. Everything was complicated, nothing was satisfactory. One day I was sitting down eating some chicken. Bought them at the grocery store in this little plastic container. I popped the lid open and went to get the chicken. I closed the lid. I popped the lid open. I closed the lid again. There's this little snap button on it, alright? And two little buttons on the sides. And I'm going, why can't I make a nose block like that that kind of pops in place and pops out of place? I can stick it in there. And I went home and I started coming up with different ways to make the nose block. Alright? Got a little audio visual here to help out. My first ones, I took and built something like this. You notice the traditional type nose block, maybe a pet button here, hole going through the center, and the normal plug that would go back into the front end. I shrunk it down a little bit to where the nose block was really, really loose. I filed a groove going all the way around to where it was shaped like this and then tapered the back off. Now think about that. If I had this piece here and then I had a plastic part the same shape, it could pop in there. And that's the way I made them for years. There's a little problem with this, that you don't have much room for shims. I mean, when it goes in and stays there, right? You could, it's not critical on the shape, but a shape like that will hold it in. You could take and do a shape like this, all right? I've made a couple of them like so. Basically a little bump sticking out here on the side. That has the same thing. When you shove it back in, it fits into the other part and locks in there, all right? The one I'm currently using, and I think this is the best one, is something like this shape. All right? Very, very easy to do. Typically, when I'm making a nose block now, it takes me less time to make the nose block vacuum forming it than I did with the old sand it and fit. Because it was sand, try, sand, try, sand, try. Oh crap. Too soft. Put some more wood back on, sand it off, sand, try, sand, try. It was a pain. This way, check this out. Alright, I want to come up with this type of shape here. Alright, in this particular case, it's a Flying Aces moth. I take and put enough wood together here. I use 3/32 times 4 pieces, and I made it large enough to where it's going to be more than enough for the nose block itself or the cowling out front. If you notice that, I got quite a bit sticking down below, quite a bit on both sides, and quite a bit on the top. Well oversized of what I need for carving the actual nose block. I need a plug that fits into the inside here. Now this is the part that normally you would fit into where it fits nice and tight. I don't want this to fit tight. What I did in this case is I sanded it down to where it's quite thin, all the way, quite loose. It would never hold the nose block in. It's just sloppy loose. All right. And if you look really close, you'll see that I don't even. After I sand it off more or less to fit in, I sand at a slight angle here, turn it over, sand at a slight angle here. It doesn't take much. If you sand a little bit, if you sand too much here, you could get the nose block so tight you can't get it out. We don't want that. We just want a little bit of an angle, so there's a little bit of this shape here going all the way around this button. All right? Now you don't have to be accurate. All right? That's one of the beautiful parts of this. I don't have to be accurate at getting this thing. It doesn't have to be perfectly fitting and all that good stuff. Just got to be close. All right? I will now take and glue the button to the back of my nose plug. By the way, if you're noticing here, what that is a hypodermic needle on the end of my super glue bottle. I don't remember who it was. I saw it on the internet and fell in love with the idea. I've been using it ever since. If you just slip the needle onto the end of the glue, you can put out little drops of super glue, measured amounts. Number 20 gauge needle for the medium glue. 23 seems to work for the fine glue. All right. You can control it very, very well. All right. In any case, I got my nose plug hooked onto my nose block, and it should fall into the hole here. All right. Again, notice I've got room all the way around, so I've got a sloppy fit. Okay. Next part is I need a hole through where my nose button is going to go. Now I know some of you probably use drill presses and all that for this. It's a flying ace's mouth. I'm not going for super scale here. I need it to be about in the center, and that's where I'm going to put it. This hole is critical in the process of the vacuum forming. All right. It doesn't have to be very big, but I need a hole all the way through where the nose button is going to, like a PEC nose button is going to fit later. All right. Now that I've got that hole through, I need a couple of small holes. You see, when you vacuum form, I want the plastic to come around this thing and go all the way down into this corner. Right? To get it down into this corner, I actually need to have a little hole going from here over to here. Doesn't take much. I use a very small reamer here, and I run it in right at the corner. Zoom in tight there, and look. I shove it in there and poke it through to that hole in the center. All right? I like to do that all the way around, just to make sure that the woods or the plastic's going to vacuum all the way in to that hole. Alright, we are now ready to vacuum form again. Oops. So that you'll be able to see very well, I'm going to use two different colors on here. First one, I'll pick the white one to start with. Alright, need to get our plate to where it fits into the frame again. Trust me, this takes about 10 times longer to show it to you than it does just to make up nose blocks for myself. Okay. Anyway, got our plastic ready, got the stove on, got our form sitting here on the vacuum forming box. We're ready to plug in again. Again, wrinkle up, stretch out, get the sagging down. Whew.